We have the Chief Safety Officer for the Ford Motor Company, brought in from Dearborn. Here's Steve Kozak. Hello, Stephen.
Hi guys, how are you today?
Hey, listen, a safety engineer, that used to mean, you know, you'd put seatbelts in a car, and then after a while, the airbags came along.
Ford Motor Company was the first manufacturer to install safety belts back in the 50s.
Is that right?
Yes, and you know, we've generated many new technologies, like our personal safety system in 2000. In 2002, we introduced the rollover curtain airbag, what we call our safety canopy.
Yep.
Our collision warning with brake support actually warns the occupant, pre-charges the brakes, and makes it so we could try and save you before you get into it.
Okay, so the concept here is the old stuff was the passive stuff.
That's correct.
Right? You'd strap yourself in.
Yeah.
This is now the active stuff?
Yep. We've got a new radar in the front of our Taurus, MKT, and our MKS. That radar actually has a phase array. It has no moving parts. It's the latest state-of-the-art radar. It's the same kind of radar you find in an F-22 fighter jet.
I mean, how do you put this stuff in a mass-market car and not charge a premium?
We're democratizing safety. We're going to bring these kinds of safety technologies to the public. You can buy this same technology in a $25,000 Taurus that you can't even get on unless you hit the ultra-luxury vehicles, BMW 7 Series, Lexus LS 460.
Is this going to sell, Cato?
Well, yes. I mean, it will sell because if you look at the top three purchase considerations of any buyer, safety is always in the top three. I mean, the value and price, and then safety matters a lot. So yes, it will say, but as always, it's got to be priced effectively. And I think what Ford is trying to do here goes back to that Henry Ford thing. You know, you got to get millions out there.
But
that's
when people buy safety, I mean, I think they say, oh well, it's got 4 stars or it's got 5. That's what they look at. It's got 4 stars. I'll take it.
Well, I don't think so anymore. You know, there's the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, which is the insurance lobby in the U.S., has its own research testing facility, and that has had a huge impact on changing the way the government rates things. And I think the smart buyer now, because the internet is right there, will go in and they'll check out the government crash test ratings. That's the star thing you're talking about, and then you'll just zoom over. I mean, it's just like click over to the Insurance Institute, and you'll see which ones have the top safety picks and which ones have the best rear. The rear collision mitigation systems, and which ones have the best rollovers, the best headrests, all that stuff. And then you can look at both and you can decide which ones are the safest cars.
So how do you stand out in that field? I mean, what do you figure you've got to do so that I notice it?
Well, Ford Motor Company has more 5-star vehicles than any other manufacturer. We've also got more top safety picks. That's the highest grade you can get from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. We've got we've got twice as many as Toyota. That really allows us to stand out. Consumer Reports.
Because you've got more models, I think.
Well, it's not compared to Toyota. We don't. No. If you take a look at the numbers, Ford Motor Company has more 5-star vehicles than any other manufacturer for years.
But radar doesn't fit into a 5-star rating.
Well, you know, the government is now starting to give you, I'll say, extra credit, okay? For when the 2010 model year, when they start to 2010 calendar year, they're going to start to show on their website whether your vehicle is equipped with collision mitigation. You'll get a check mark if it meets their specifications. You'll get a check mark if you meet a lane departure warning. You'll get a check mark if you have electronic stability control. Ford Motor Company offers roll stability control on our CUVs and SUVs, and electronic stability control on our automobiles.
You know what worries me about this? I mean, all this collision warning stuff. You know, you're in a collision, and the first thing you say, "Oh, it didn't warn me. It didn't warn me." Lawyers are going to get you.
Well, you know, that's a very important topic, and we have data recording systems in the vehicle that help us understand.
Oh, do you really? There's a black box in there.
There's a black box in the vehicle today that lets you know when the airbags went off, if they've been working properly. The same thing will happen when we have the radar systems in the vehicle.
That must make you feel a little better as a safety engineer.
It definitely helps us.
Otherwise, you spend all your time in court and not designing cars.
Well, it's very important for us to, even when we run our own tests, we need to have that recording system in the vehicle so that we know everything worked precisely.
So how far along the path are we? I mean, cars used to be such death traps, you know, when we started to drive. Well, I mean, it's changed so much.
My dad drove a Ford Falcon to work that had 3 on the tree, a metal dashboard, and seat belts. So they were seat belts would hold you just in place so your forehead could hit that metal dash. That's how far along we are, and I'm not that old. And so now we've got cars that shouldn't roll over except in extreme conditions, and if they do, the roofs are strong strong enough to hold them in place, not like that Ford Falcon
Yep.
where the roof would have crushed. But I think the real challenge here, that as you go forward, is to decide which standards these companies are going to go for. There's European standards,
Right.
there's Japanese, there's Australian, there's the Insurance Institute, and there's the U.S. government, and they're all moving targets.
This is a challenge for us,
Yeah.
and you know, my team is responsible globally for all this. So we track what's going on.
So we're seeing one Ford in you right here.
That's correct. And not only do we monitor what's going on in Europe, which the standards are, they have all new EU standards that are coming out in 2011. We're also watching the China market. The China market is busting open with their own requirements. You know, you'd like to be able to have everybody do it the same way, so it made it easier for us to develop vehicles. But a lot of these things are really trying to converge, starting to converge right now. The new EU requirements that are coming out are very similar to the IHS. So we're seeing some synergies there in how we develop the side airbags and how we put the structure in the side of the vehicle. The application of high-strength steels and ultra-high-strength steels like boron steel is becoming more universally accepted, and the standards, they kind of go with the technology.
One of the things, you know, mass is a big factor in safety, and so you've got these fuel economy regs that are pushing you to take weight out and make cars more efficient, and then you've got these safety regs which are making you to make cars ever more safer. It seems to me it's almost impossible to reconcile and keep the price down.
And keep the price down. You know, when my team, I have 40 PhDs that work in my department. You know, my department does more computing. 60% of all the computing time in Ford Motor Company is done by 160 people in Ford Motor Company that are in the safety department.
And what do you do? You're doing simulations all day and night? Yeah.
Literally. Millions of simulations a year, thousands on each vehicle line, where we design, perfect the design, optimize design, keep the weight out, keep the safety in, so the vehicles can be fuel efficient and safe at the same time.
What's coming that I haven't heard of?
Well, you know, this radar technology that we're putting in the vehicles, there's 3 radars in the new Taurus. 1 in the front, 2 on each side in the rear. Gives you the blind spot detection as well as cross-traffic alert. You've got 1 in the front that does collision warning with brake support. Those radars then will be enhanced with the future vision systems. We're going to take it to the point where the vehicles are going to be able to avoid an accident.
Are they always going to work, though, Stephen? I mean, if you got a piece of mud on the front of it, I mean, is your radar still going to work and the collision warning still going to happen?
We always will be faced with the challenge of trying to bring a technology to market and trying to bring a technology that is flawless. There's no such thing as flawless. But what we do is, you know, Ford goes the extra effort. We don't just meet the government regulations. We have our own internal requirements that go beyond. We do a lot of benchmarking, and I can tell you that radar system that's in the front of the new Taurus is far superior than many that we've tested.
How do you make it comfortable for customers to be in a situation where the control of the car is being taken out of their hands? For example, braking systems that activate automatically without control of the driver. This seems to me to something that would worry some customers.
Well, you know, we do exhaustive studies in our simulator. We have a Vertex simulator. This is a 360-degree room. We place a car in it, put a driver in it. We ran 16-year-olds all the way up to 85-year-olds. We put 36-hour sleep deprivation engineers in there, and we tested the systems against them to see what was the best way to warn them. How do you wake them up, and how do you get them to start acting like they need to act when the time comes? A lot of people are being distracted in their vehicles. That's really causing a lot of accidents.
So how do you wake them up? What did you decide?
Well, we found that the best system was an audio alert with a visual alert. So in the new Taurus, we have an audio alarm that goes off, and then we have a heads-up display. There's a light in the dash that reflects against the windshield. It's like having a high-mount stop lamp in your windshield for you, and it tells you. You even pick it up with your peripheral vision. The testing that we do is we actually make them read a series of numbers down in their cup holder, and that's how we determine how fast they can react.
Is this like if you're falling asleep? Is that what the idea of this is?
Falling asleep, texting. I was driving down the expressway the other day into work, and a guy's reading the newspaper. Couldn't see anything in front of him. He's reading the newspaper in front of him. You know, how do you manage something like that?
Well, I saw a survey in the U.S. 2 years ago that said 20% of women drivers put makeup on driving to work. And 40% of men eat while they're driving.
See it every day.
So how do you engineer for bad behavior?
Just like how do you engineer for people that didn't wear belts? You invented airbags. Okay. How do you make an seatbelt work better? You put a 3-point belt in. You put in pre-tensioning, where you take the slack out. These technologies are starting to come online, and the advent of new electronics have really broken this all open for us.